In this episode, I give you my take on my struggling 49ers, plus why you should bet on the Golden State Warriors to win it all this year. Also, why I think Mike McCarthy could save his job in Dallas, and much, much more. Episode 55 of N1 from the End Zone starts now.
You're watching the latest episode of N1 from the End Zone. Please click on that subscribe button so you can be notified when the latest content drops. Now, let's kick it.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, N1 from the End Zone is officially back with your host, King NPB himself. I appreciate all of you for being a part of the channel. Last time we released an episode, we were at 7,000 subscribers. Now we're at over 8,200 subs. I appreciate all your love and support and for genuinely being a part of this channel. Hopefully you are leaving comments to let me know if you agree or disagree with my takes. I want to build a community. I want you guys to be a part of it. So feel free to join, comment. This is a safe space. I love you all. Thank you for your support. I hope you've been following my NFL Filet hot picks because we've been making money. Our record is 32-23 for the season. So if you like sports betting, stay tuned on Saturdays because we've been still dropping our 5 Flamin' Hot picks on a weekly basis. Now, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into it. So my 49ers are officially going through the season of hell. We are experiencing a Super Bowl hangover after the loss to the Kansas City Chiefs last year. And we just came off a blowout loss to the Green Bay Packers where we got blown out 38-10. Brandon Allen, not the guy. We signed Joshua Dobbs for a reason. I would have preferred to see Joshua Dobbs out there, but I guess because Brandon has been with the team now 2 years, Kyle felt more comfortable that he knew how to operate the offense, but that was clearly not the case. I don't want to hear no Brock Purdy slander. When we got the ball back in the second half and we were in field goal range and we decided to go for it, I don't know why we would do that. I think that was bad coaching decision by Kyle, but that's neither here nor there. I just thought that was the nail in the coffin for us in that game. And it's fine. It's fine. I thought the defense actually played better than what the final score dictated. I saw a lot of good stuff from the defense, even though we did let up a lot of points. Right now, we're playing without our number one safety, which I believe is Hufanga. We're playing without technically our number one cornerback, which is Tre'Davious Ward. We don't have Javon Hargrave out there. We don't have Nick Bosa out there. Dre Greenlaw still hasn't come back from his injury. It's just we started falling apart in the Super Bowl when Dre Greenlaw got hurt running onto the field, and it's just been downhill since then. CMC was not ready to start off week 1. It looked like he was going to be a go, and then last minute we started Jordan Mason. We're 5-6, and I think everybody needs to kind of take a chill pill about the Niners being done. Yes, they may be done this year. I still think we have a long shot of making the playoffs. And when we make the playoffs, I have enough confidence and belief in the core group of guys in Brock Purdy who literally in the biggest moments, having double-digit deficits, came back and beat Jared Goff, beat Jordan Love in the playoffs to make it to the Super Bowl, and had a lead in the Super Bowl when he stepped off the field, and our defense couldn't stop Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, who ultimately won the game. I genuinely believe if we make the playoffs, we're going to be a threat. But even if we don't make the playoffs this year, I don't think this season is a complete loss for the 49ers. I heard Colin Cowherd give his instant reaction after the Sunday slate of games. And for him to even propose that the Niners tank, I think that's kind of ridiculous and that they should have moved off a lot of players. Maybe you're right to an extent. But in my personal opinion, do they not realize how many young guys are playing right now valuable minutes? Ricky Pearsall, before the season started, got shot. He had a good game, and I still think he's developing. It wasn't until, I believe, Debo's second or third year that he really took off. I think it was Debo's second year where he started to gain some traction. And then his third year, he actually took off when he got paid. And then it wasn't until Brandon Ayuk's third year when he popped off. when we established like real belief in him being a number one, number two receiver next to Debo. So Ricky, I think he's going to be fine. He's going to develop. We've developed talent before. Ricky's going to develop fine. Isaac Guerendo, the rookie, who wasn't necessarily supposed to see valuable minutes, he's actually gotten to play. He was essentially Jordan Mason's backup. I think he's going to be the next CMC. I think next year, because I believe Jordan Mason is going to get paid somewhere to go and be the backup or the starting running back somewhere. I think he's done enough. He's put out enough tape. He's stayed somewhat healthy. So I think he's going to get an opportunity elsewhere. But I believe Isaac Guerendo and his style of play and what I saw in the brief stints that he was out there, I think Isaac Guerendo is actually going to be a good option, a good weapon for the San Francisco 49ers next year and moving forward. Bernardo Green, another rookie that we drafted this year, wasn't supposed to see valuable minutes, getting a lot of playing time, especially because Tre'Davious Ward is dealing with the family situation. Shout out to his family. Prayers out with them. They lost their daughter. I can only imagine what he's dealing with. He must be destroyed, and he's not probably not in the right state of mind to go out there and play. So I completely understand, brother. Take all the time you need. Prayers out to you, man. I can only imagine best being a girl dad myself. Shout out to you, brother. Shout out to you and your family, man. So Tre'Davious Ward not out there. Renardo Green getting a lot of play time. Ambry Thomas not out there. Isaac Yiadom, who I actually like. I like Yiadom. Yiadom actually looks like a good cornerback in my personal opinion. And then we just played Diamador Lenore. Our number one safety, Hufanga, not out there. Who are we playing? Second year safety, Jair Brown, who I thought played really well last year, and Malik Mustafa, who in my opinion has been playing really well. Defensive rookie of the year contender in my personal opinion. Drake Lena still not out there. Tatum Bethune, special teams player who plays linebacker. I think he's doing a decent job, even though special teams is one of the weakest parts of our team. I think Tatum Bethune is actually a bright spot in that whole situation. Dominic Pooney, rookie right guard for the 49ers. A lot of playing time. Basically, the entire draft class for the 49ers is playing a lot of valuable minutes. That's not the case for the 40. That hasn't been the case for the 49ers last year or in prior years. So, with all that being said, I genuinely believe that the future for the 49ers is bright, in my personal opinion. This may not be our year because we're dealing with a lot of injuries. And honestly, in my personal opinion, maybe that's a blessing in disguise because we might need to take a year to reflect. Brock, I think, has gotten better, even though the numbers may not fully reflect it. He's added another dimension to his game because of his legs and the movement that he clearly has, the athletic ability that a lot of people question. I still believe he has good arm talent. I still think he's learning how to read NFL defenses. I think they should genuinely pay him. I don't know if they should pay him 60 million, but I don't think they should pay him 40, 45 million. That's disrespectful and ridiculous, especially because he has a bigger resume than, in my personal opinion, a lot of these other quarterbacks that have gotten paid. So Brock, get your money, man. Niners, I believe, are going to do right by you. I also believe the Niners are smart enough to understand what this season is, and we should not panic. We should not, we shouldn't. And as a fan, as a faithful 49er fan, we shouldn't panic. Yeah, this season's going to suck. It's going to hurt. Our hopes are going to be up and down, especially because we're going to think we're not making the playoffs. And we have the coach, the caliber of quarterback, the caliber of talent to be contending for a championship. But this might not be our year. This is definitely not our year. And that's okay. Let the Chiefs three-peat on somebody else. Let the Kansas City Chiefs three-peat on somebody else. We'll take the title next year when we're fully healthy and ready with another year of Brock Purdy. I think Brock is going to contend for the MVP next year. And I'm calling it right now. So, faithful, chill, national media needs to chill because some of these takes on the 49ers and that they're over, that they're old, that they need, I think they need to invest in the offensive line. I've been saying that for a while. I've also been calling out Jake Moody because in the most crucial moments, he hasn't shown up until recently when he missed 3 field goals in his return game and he hit the game winner against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I thought he even though he missed 3 field goals, he gave me confidence. That's something that I never had in the kid. So, with that being said, I still think we might need a kicker, but even if we don't move off of him, I'm starting to believe in Jake Moody. So, with that being said, faithful, stay happy. Niners, bang, bang, Niner gang for life. We're going to be fine. We're going to be contending for Super Bowls in the near future. We have a great group of young talent. Our receiving core is deep. Our offensive line, I think, can be improved. Our defensive line next year is going to be fine. In John Lynch, I trust. In Kyle, I trust, even though some of Kyle's decision-making is questionable throughout the season sometimes. Bang, bang. We're going to be fine, ladies and gentlemen. Moving on, ladies and gentlemen, to why you should bet on the Golden State Warriors to win the NBA title this year. And one from the end zone. We'll be right back after these messages. Guys, have you heard? Shady Mob Productions is an official affiliate of HBO Max. Click on the link in the description and sign up so you can watch hit series like Hard Knocks, Game of Thrones, and House of Dragons. Also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you can be notified when the latest content drops.
Guys, join me, Alex the Man Angelov, and check out A&A Radio, where we're going to be talking about the latest and greatest financial news, investments, banking, and personal finance. Check out the channel and don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you can be notified when the latest content drops.
So the Golden State Warriors have gotten off to a hot start this year and by all means look like they're going to be making the playoffs, not the play-in. As a Warrior fan, that makes me excited. As somebody that didn't think that the team was going to be this competitive this early on, I am pleasantly surprised. I know they are currently on a 3-game losing streak, especially since Steph is out with some knee pain. I think they're going to be fine when Steph comes back. But with that being said, Mike Dunleavy has done an incredible job with the roster this year. Strength in numbers is back, ladies and gentlemen. I didn't expect to see Buddy Hield ball out the way that he's balled out. Andrew Wiggins looks like he's focused and more centered in. I believe Jonathan Kuminga's development has definitely taken a step back this year, even though I do believe he's very consistent in what they have asked him to do. I love how the young group of guys, who some of them like Kuminga, like Moody, like Wiggins, even though he's more of a veteran than most of the other guys, they all have championship caliber experience. They were all a part of the Golden State Warriors championship run in 2022, Gary Payton. So that experience, having that experience, especially with the leaders in Draymond and Steph, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. I genuinely believe this team is meant to compete. I thought Steve Kerr in the coaching aspect of things had taken a step back over the last couple of years, but I think this year it might be one of Steve Kerr's best coaching jobs, especially with the departure of Klay Thompson and with teams like the Minnesota Timberwolves, in my personal opinion, taking a step back and moving off the wrong big. I genuinely believe they should have moved off of Rudy Gobert over Karl Anthony Towns because the chemistry between Cat and Ant-Man, bro, like Cat, Ant-Man, that sounds like a dynamic duo. Rudy Gobert and Ant-Man does not. No offense to Dante DiVincenzo and the players that they acquired in the trade with the Knicks. I personally believe they took a step back in that trade, and it's clear that the New York Knicks won that trade, in my personal opinion. I think they're very competitive with Karl Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson, who's clearly the leader of that team. With that being said, the veteran players like Kevon Looney, Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody, Steph, obviously, and Draymond, like those guys, that experience, that championship winning experience that they have, especially Kevon Looney, who's been a part of, I think, like 3 out of the 4 championships that they've won. I believe they're built. They're built to contend for a title this year, especially in the West that honestly doesn't have any major juggernauts. And yeah, I'm excited to see what this team does in the playoffs. Hopefully Steph can remain healthy. If Steph if Steph and Draymond can remain healthy for the playoffs, they have a real shot at winning and contending for a title. They're giving you spurts of the old Warriors where they take over in the third quarter. It doesn't matter how much they're down going into halftime, but the third quarter is when they shine, and they've been shining and coming in clutch. I know they're on a 3-game skid, but they'll be fine in my personal opinion. Now, moving on to my next subject. So, if you're a Dallas Cowboys fan, I got some bad news for you, or good news, depending on if you like Mike McCarthy. I believe he's going to be back as your head coach in 2025. I think Jerry's going to re-up him on a 2-year deal. He's going to give him a better run game next year, hopefully a real viable running back. He's probably going to bolster that offensive line, and he's going to let Mike McCarthy go out there with his quarterback, Dak Prescott. As long as the Cowboys finish 7-10 or even 8-9, I think Michael McCarthy will be back on a 2-year deal. I'd be surprised if it's a 1-year deal, but I think he'll be back on a 2-year deal. And head coaching the Dallas Cowboys next year. Now, if they don't make a run next year with Dak being back healthy and with all the upgrades that Jerry's probably going to do this offseason, he's going to be gone in 2026. He will not be the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. That's why I believe it'll be a 2-year deal rather than a 4-year re-up. I think Mike McCarthy will be back on a 2-year deal, given the opportunity in 2025. If he doesn't make the run in 2025, he will be let go of in 2026 or heading into the 2026 season, and a new head coach is going to be brought in. Now, I know the Cowboys were linked to Deion Sanders before they were on a 2-game winning streak, and they apparently were trying to tank for Shador. That did not work out very well, because as soon as those rumors came out, Cowboys go on a 2-game winning streak. They beat the Commanders, they beat the Giants, and now the Cowboys are feeling good about themselves. Jerry is feeling good about himself, and I don't blame him. I think Deion, for all intents and purposes, the amount of resources that he has at his disposal, especially because college, it's not an even playing field. He's able to turn around colleges like Jackson State in year 1 and year 2, and now Colorado after his 2 years there. They're a winning college football team. I think because he's got a lot of top tier recruits now committed to Colorado. Coming into next season, I think he should stay in Colorado. I think the Buffaloes have a real shot at competing for a national title in the next 4 years. Realistically, within the next 4 years, Colorado is going to continue winning, probably make the playoffs a couple times, and even have an opportunity to win the college national football championship. With that being said, if he were to make a move to the NFL, I think he should consider franchises like the Chicago Bears, like the Jacksonville Jaguars, where a lot of the talent on that team is young men that he can help form, shape, and mold. He won't have the same resources that he has in college as at his disposal in the NFL because of the fact that the NFL is an even playing field. When it comes to college, he can bring in names like Warren Sapp. He could still do the coaching aspect of things in the NFL, but it's another level. It's a lot more competitive, and I'm not saying Primetime can't do it. I just don't think he's the right man for the Dallas Cowboys job. I think he'd be a better fit with a team that is still super young, that he can instill values, instill a culture, a winning culture, and teach them how to play the NFL game the way it's supposed to be played. I think the Cowboys, a lot of their core group of guys, been in the league for a while. They're not that young. They're veterans in the league, and just because he's prime time doesn't necessarily mean they're going to take pay cuts to come and play for the Cowboys. That's not how the NFL works. The players go where they either play them the most or where they think they have a real opportunity to win a championship. And because Deion isn't proven in the NFL game, I see them going to other teams over the Dallas Cowboys, even if Prime Time is there. With all due respect to Prime, I think Prime has a real shot at winning a national title if he stays in college. So that's why I think keeping Mike McCarthy, especially if Jerry Jones is not going to go for a Bill Belichick or for a Mike Vrabel. Keeping Mike McCarthy for another year or two is probably the way that the Dallas Cowboys are going to go, especially because we know Jerry doesn't like change. And Mike McCarthy, he didn't have his quarterback this year. The offensive line wasn't good. They can't stop the fucking run. And they need to upgrade everything overall. And I feel like Jerry's taking responsibility for that, and he's going to give Mike McCarthy a better opportunity next year to really win football games and really have the Dallas Cowboys competing. Now, with talking about head coaches being fired or retaining head coaches, the Chicago Bears just let go of Matt Eberflus. So we'll be right back, and I'll give you my thoughts on that.
If you're in the San Francisco Bay Area and want the best cut of your life, go check out Headspins Barbershop, located in South San Francisco, the official barbershop of N1 from the End Zone.
Guys, you're watching a Shady Mob production. Make sure to follow the Shady Mob podcast where we break down all the latest content and talk about life. Please make sure to share, like, comment, and subscribe so you can be notified when the latest content drops.
So the Chicago Bears have fired their head coach, Matt Eberflus. Yesterday, the Chicago Bears faced off against the Detroit Lions in Detroit and had been shut out in the first half, 16-0, and in the second half mounted a miraculous comeback, bringing the game back to 20-23, shutting them out in the fourth quarter and only allowing 7 points in the second half. With that being said, the Chicago Bears were driving in the final minute of the game. They had the final possession of the game. They had a timeout left with under 30 seconds, and they got a deep completion. Matt Eberflus, or the coaching staff for the Chicago Bears, more specifically Matt Eberflus, had a brain fart, had a debacle, and didn't call a timeout. I guess he was saving it for them to get closer, but Caleb had no sense of urgency. He was trying to get everybody organized, get everybody down there, and basically snapped the ball with under 10 seconds left, threw an incomplete pass down the field, and that was the game. Now, I don't know if that falls on Caleb because he's a rookie quarterback, but come on, Madden, like, you got to know, if you're the quarterback, you got to know where the clock is, and you got to know, like, everything. And if you see that your head coach isn't helping you, you got to take something into account. He could have probably called the timeout because he is a captain on the team. He didn't. Blew the game. We're not going to put it all on Caleb because Matt Eberflus is a losing head coach. He doesn't have a winning record. Yes, the team looked like they played well towards the end of the year last year, but I personally believe that was thanks a lot in part because of Justin Fields. We've seen what Justin Fields has been able to do with a competent coaching staff and a good defense in Pittsburgh with Mike Tomlin, even though Russell Wilson right now is the quarterback for them. Caleb had a tremendous second half. He played well. He looks like there's definitely hope there. Next year, what will the Chicago Bears do? Well, I was originally thinking that the Chicago Bears would go after Cliff Kingsbury, especially after the hot start that Jaden Daniels came into the league with this year for the Washington Commanders, and because he had the opportunity to join the Chicago Bears coaching staff, and they didn't go for him as an offensive coordinator. But because of the familiarity there, because Caleb was at USC, he was and Cliff Kingsbury was the offensive coordinator for USC while he was in college. I wouldn't be surprised if the Chicago Bears offer Cliff Kingsbury the job. It's clear that Cliff is not going to leave the Washington Commanders position as the offensive coordinator for another OC job, especially if they're compensating him well enough over there. So I wouldn't be surprised if, in order to lure him away from the Commanders, they offer him the head coaching position. He's been a former head coach. By all intents and purposes, the reports that came out about Kyler Murray as the quarterback there have been backed up. Maybe he deserves another opportunity, and maybe that's in Chicago with Caleb Williams. Now, if it's not Caleb, Bobby Slowick, the offensive coordinator for the Texans, even though the Texans have taken a step back this year. I think that's in part because of a lot of injuries on the offensive side of the ball, and because in all fairness, CJ Stroud, it's his second year in the league. There's a lot of tape out on him. He's still learning how to read defenses. He's still developing. And Bobby is helping out the Texans tremendously. I still think the Texans are going to make the playoffs. The Texans are that good. Another option would be Ben Johnson, the Detroit Lions offensive coordinator. We see how tremendous that offense is for the Detroit Lions. They put up a 50 burger, I think, twice this year. And it's a well-oiled machine. They have two premier running backs. They have two stellar wide receivers. They have a great tight end in Sam Laporta, and they have a competent quarterback in Jared Goff. They have a strong offensive line. The offensive line this year for the Chicago Bears has been a little bit atrocious. And I think Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions, if given the opportunity to be a head coach, might be able to turn around the Chicago Bears franchise, who have been struggling to find any offense in, I think, their entire franchise existence, to be completely honest. I think Jay Cutler is still their franchise leading quarterback in a lot of stats. And I think Caleb has the potential to surpass Jay Cutler. He just needs the right head coach. And I don't think going for another defensive-minded head coach is the way. Matt Nagy, when he was the head coach of the Chicago Bears, got them to the playoffs and got the most out of Mitchell Trubisky. I still think if he had been allowed to be the head coach for Justin Fields, he probably could have helped out Justin Fields tremendously in his development. But with that being said, he's not there anymore. And I think they should go back and pivot back to an offensive-minded head coach, and especially if it's one of those three options. I'd be surprised if they don't go for Cliff, especially because of the familiarity there, because he knows the NFL game. He's been the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals. He has a stacked resume, and I think that would be the perfect fit for Chicago. Now, it might be that Cliff doesn't want to be a head coach again, and if that's the case, you go for Ben Johnson or Bobby Slowick. Just saying, Chicago, there's a chance next year, baby. I'm just saying, especially because you guys got a good running back in DeAndre Swift. You guys have great offensive wide receivers in Romeo Odunze, who's going to take a step forward next year. DJ Moore, who's going to be back, and I think Keenan Allen is still under contract. So, Bears, your move. I hope Ryan Poles makes the right move for you guys. All right, time for an extra hot take to end this episode. I don't believe the Lakers are a better team this year, and I think they're going to fall into the play-in by the end of the season. I personally think they made a lateral move going from Darvin Ham to JJ Redick at this point. There hasn't necessarily been an improvement or an uptick in their offense. They're actually averaging less points per game this year. They're averaging less rebounds, less assists. They're only 0.2 up on steals, but that's not a significant improvement in my personal opinion. Through 19 games so far, I think 20 games, the record is right now 11-7. If they lose against the Oklahoma City Thunder tonight, they're dropping down to 11-8. If they win, they're 12-7, and that's a game better than they were last year through this point. But realistically, other than having AD fully take the reins and lead in 4 of the 5 categories that are important, LeBron only leading in assists, AD leading in points, rebounds, steals, and blocks, I just genuinely don't believe the Lakers are built to compete. Now, I think the Lakers should think about and consider moving Austin Reeves and packaging him with maybe D'Lo, maybe Max Christie, Rui Hachimura, doing something where they keep Dalton, AD, and LeBron and bring in like a bona fide third scorer, something to help boost and bolster that offense a little bit more to help them contend for a title. But unless they're willing to do something like that, I genuinely don't believe they're built to contend. And I hope they can remain healthy, because LeBron's about to be 40 next month. AD's an aging veteran player who up until last year was having injury struggles, was very injury prone. Last year, I feel like, was an outlier. Maybe this year it's not going to be the same, but it's nice to see that he's been able to take the reins. I still don't believe they are built to contend. I think they might fall into the play-in, and the move for Darvin Ham was just a lateral move, especially because the only real additions was the 2 rookie acquisitions in Bronny James and Dalton Connect. Other than that, the roster basically stayed the same. Rob Pelinka really didn't do JJ Redick any any favors, in my personal opinion. And I think the reason why was because the podcast LeBron and JJ both had, where he was like, oh, we could do this, we could do that. Like, this is how I would run it or whatever. That probably was like what got him the job. Like, oh, if you think you can do a better job with the talent that's currently on the roster, then you could be the head coach of this team, basically. And that's ultimately why I think JJ Redick is there. And he's basically kept them the same. Yeah, there's differences in who's taking the lead, who's the number one guy, but again, like the Warriors, the reason why I believe and I'm adamant they're gonna win the title or compete for a title this year, you got Steph, Draymond, two bona fide Hall of Famers, Hall of Fame head coach, and Steve Kerr. You got Andrew Wiggins, Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody, Gary Payton, Kevon Looney, players that were a part of that championship run in 2022, plus an additional Pajemski, Trace Jackson Davis, and a bunch of other players that are young who are also experienced veterans on the team that are like just a cohesive, good unit together. With Steph being back, I think they're going to be able to contend for a title and ultimately win the 2024-2025 championship, in my personal opinion. That's not something that I see the Lakers being able to do, even with LeBron James, who in his time with the Lakers, the only time he was able to win was in a pandemic-ridden season when they had essentially 2 or 3 months off before they started playing games again and everybody was healthy and able to go. This year, with 82 games, I don't know if they're going to have enough gas at the end of the year with LeBron turning 40 and with AD hopefully staying healthy to be able to compete for a title. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that is my extra hot take for this episode. Now, guys, please subscribe, like, and comment on the video. Share this with your friends, families, and partners. Make some money with my picks. Listen to my sports takes or just watch for some positivity. Always remember, desire is power, and if you desire to be great, you have the power to be great. Thank you for watching another episode of Unwin from the End Zone. I appreciate you guys. Stay tuned for more. And don't forget to tune in on Saturdays for my 5 flaming hot picks. Love y'all. Stay tuned.